and welcome to. Good job, Rudy.
We didn't agree. We didn't agree who was going to do the introduction before.
Yeah, you did it last
Take it
time.
away.
It's my turn now. Look at my puffy eyes. This is a guy who hasn't slept in the last week. We're in Norway, both of us, and we're two different places.
And day 5 of the Maxa Tours Scandinavian tour.
Yes, actually, it is day 5 today. So we are 4 days to go. We've been to Stockholm, we've been to Bergen, we've been to Flom and Voss, and now we're in Oslo.
We are in Oslo. It's local time, almost noon on the 28th, I think, something like that.
28th to 27th today. Yes, that's right.
27th of May. 27th of May, 2022. Okay, now we got that straight. Now, where are you at the moment exactly?
I am at right behind me. Is actually we can take a look at it. You can see the ski jump up here. This is the Holmenkollen ski jump, where the Olympics were in 1959. Obviously not this particular one, but I'm sitting outside the coffee shop here. I couldn't go further away because the Wi-Fi is only good for a very few yards away here. So the ski jump up, one beautiful views of the fjord, Oslofjorden, and downtown Oslo. So the guests are now up on the top of the ski jump, and obviously, as you know, I'm afraid of heights, so I'm not up there with them.
I'm afraid of heights too. So I'm down here on the ground. I am on the main pedestrian street in Oslo. Very, very pretty street. If you walk out the central train station, it just stretches before you for at least a mile to the parks, to the Royal Palace, to the concert hall, to the city hall, sort of off to the side. But it's just a great walking street, and it's got Louis Vuitton and all the big names. I can see them all here.
Yeah, Karl Johansgate.
How do you pronounce it?
Karl Johansgate.
Karl Johansstrasse. Yeah. Okay. So I'm on Karl Johan Street, and it's just a great. I guess I should show folks what it looks like here. I'm at a cafe.
Yeah, it starts at the central station and goes straight up to the palace. Is what it does. So, yeah. There you go. So you're sitting right outside. That's cool.
I'm at a coffee shop called Olivia, which is very pleasant. I had to beg to be seated outside because they said it may rain. It may rain, and of course it may rain at any time anywhere in Scandinavia. But there's blue sky up there. I don't see that. But
yeah, Freya was bought by Kraft, I think. It's a Norwegian chocolate manufacturer. So it's interesting. You show that sign, that advertising sign up there has been there for a long, long, long time. All right. Okay. So let's get rolling on what we have today. Do you want to start?
Sure. I thought it was interesting, and don't panic yet. But the mayor of Amsterdam said, I believe it was yesterday or the day before at the latest, that he doesn't think foreigners should be allowed to go into coffee shops in Amsterdam. Now, when we say coffee shops in Amsterdam, what that means is places where marijuana and hashish are sold legally. And that's always been a popular thing for Americans, certainly before any drugs were legalized in the United States.
Oh, no, Rick Steves must be so bummed.
Well, Rick Steves has been a huge proponent for the legalization of marijuana in the United States for decades. But I don't know why the mayor wants to do that. I mean, it's not like people go in and buy marijuana and walk out and, fall into canals or do crazy things. And it's probably a pretty good revenue source, too, tourists there. So anyway, watch that space. See if the mayor gets his way. See what his reasoning is for why tourists can't buy legal marijuana and cannabis in those shops that are all over downtown. I mean, it's not hard to find them, and as I say, it's perfectly legal. And he doesn't like that for some reason. What do you got?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's been it hasn't been anything substantial problems with that throughout the years.
I mean, not that I know of. No.
It's a pretty mellow thing, so it's not like people are getting crazy about it when they do that kind of stuff. Well, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Speaking of crowded, so I put this on here. I took it from Live and Let's Fry from Matthew Clint's blog, and I also saw Ed Pizzarello report that the Centurion Lounge in Las Vegas I saw a line that was all the way through the concourse. To get into the Centurion Lounge. And, so American Express, we know they're reducing the ability to bring guests and stuff and the times you can go and connections and things like that, entry requirements from February of next year.
You should probably explain what the Centurion Clubs are for a viewer who might not know what an American Express Centurion Club is.
Yeah, so Centurion is Americans, you have the United and Delta, and American has their club lounges and throughout the United States and have had that for ages. And
in airports,
and they've started to get competition from credit card companies, both Chase and American Express, and now also Capital One latest has opened a lounge in Dallas and opening soon in DC, much better than what the airlines are offering. The problem is that they're aggressively selling so many credit cards now. Both the airlines and American Express and everybody's having this issue that the lounges are super overcrowded. They cannot. People are waiting in line for an hour and a half to get into the lounge, and
that's incredible. Who's got an hour and a half before their flight to wait in line to go into a lounge?
Right. The way that people that you see all these travel hackers show up at the airport 3 hours early or go 3 hours later just to get a free meal and at a lounge. I mean, just people have different priorities, but obviously those things have consequences for business travelers. Usually, when I go in there is when it's the delay or I have a long connection, and that's
right. That's right. Delta passed that rule beginning June 1. You can't enter a Delta lounge, even if you have the credit card or you purchased a membership, more than 3 hours before your flight.
Right. They were going to reduce that based on arrivals too. I mean,
they changed that. They didn't. You can now after you arrive.
They walk back that part. 3 hours is fine. I mean, if you come into the airport more than 3 hours before your flight to hang out at an airline lounge, you would need to think about your life's priorities for sure.
Exactly.
But anyway,
I got an email today from Marriott. I get periodic emails from Marriott saying, "Come do this trip," or "Here's our new hotel," or whatever. This one was encouraging me to spend more time visiting Saudi Arabia, which I know is sort of unusual. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with visiting Saudi Arabia. I'd love to visit Saudi Arabia, but I didn't know that Marriott has a Ritz-Carlton, a Sheraton, and a Courtyard Marriott all in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. I thought that was sort of interesting. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. The Ritz-Carlton is where MBK or whatever his initials are locked up all the billionaires until they agreed to turn over a lot of their money to the government. I forgot that was the Ritz-Carlton, where some of them were some of them were reportedly beat up and tortured in order to get them to agree to separate themselves from a couple $1 billion for the government's benefit. That was the Ritz-Carlton. That's where I want to stay. I want to stay there. They're not going to get any money out of me. I mean, all my money's going to go to paying for the room.
I went to visit Saudi a few years ago and flew in from Abu Dhabi. And it's just for one night. And there's a substantial amount of high quality hotels that you could choose there from various chains. So that's nothing new. It's just an interesting targeting. Interesting that they're targeting the
American audience.
Yeah, and also now. I mean, at the end of the day, they've loosened up the travel restrictions. The general travel restrictions. That's always been a Saudi thing substantially now, that you don't have to have an invitations and various things like that you had to in the past. But it's not a beach holiday, though. But it's interesting. I think it's definitely a country to visit if you haven't been, more so than many other countries. All right.
Speaking of travel restrictions, I think I'm returning to the States on Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day, but
Tuesday.
We still have to do the test, right?
Right, we do have to test. For you that you're taking Delta, there's reports that Scandinavian Airlines are completely oblivious to the rules, and they don't the approved test that you and I have. There are reports that they don't take those tests. Just idiotic and incompetence. I tried to tweet them to get SAS to walk that back, and they got a reader FAQ, and of course in the FAQ it doesn't mention that at all. It's just it depends on who's checking you in at the airport, so it should be fun. I just
keep hoping every day that the United States is going to drop that rule that anybody in the United States has to have a negative COVID test a day before you fly. I mean, we're the only country.
And it's like SAS has an agreement with those super expensive airport testing stations. To be honest with you, okay, let's move on. It's interesting to see. I saw it was reported by Gary on View from the Wing. He reported that Aeroflot, the airline Aeroflot, has had to forfeit their slots at Heathrow permanently. So the Russian carriers' slots at Heathrow Airport has been permanently revoked, meaning that they will not be able to fly into Heathrow anymore.
That is amazing, because Heathrow, first of all, it's very difficult to get the slots. Second of all, they're hugely expensive to get them. Third of all, it doesn't sound like the Russians. You can sell them. It doesn't sound like the Russians are going to be able to sell them. They're just banned.
Yeah, no, they can't do that, and that's for the viewers who are not familiar with it. I think that we've seen some airlines selling slot upwards of $60 million per slot.
At Heathrow in
Yeah,
London.
at Heathrow. Yeah. So at the end of the,
That's
we've seen through when the last time when we had a recession back in 2011, 2012, I was doing a lot of business with a company in Belgium for my previous job at Singtel. And I flew into Brussels, and United flew a flight from, they picked a place to fly a flight, First Freedom route flight from Fifth Freedom route from London to Brussels. So I flew on United Airlines from London to Brussels. They didn't sell that particular route, but in order to keep their slot alive when there was no demand, they flew from London to Brussels once a day. So they got 2 slots, filled them, because you have to fly your flights and pay your dues, or you lose it. If you don't lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it, and that's kind of a thing. But now this is
a big hit. That's a big hit.
That's warranted. You have a country that the only courage is a thing, and courage you need to step up and be and show courage, and if not. If I couldn't care less if Aeroflot loses those slots, to be honest.
I couldn't care less either, but man, that's got to be a major route for Aeroflot between Moscow and London, and to lose London.
Well, there's always Gatwick. There's always Gatwick. It is a little bit less of a premium and very much lack of connections, but hey.
All those big guys, all those rich Russians who own great big houses down in, off Grosvenor Square in London are going to have to do a bit of, they're going to have to change their plans when they're traveling into Gatwick, or
you can fly British Airways.
Maybe Gatwick will ban them too.
Right. Speaking of, I have a question. Kind of how you feel about that. I see that Turkish is have beefed up their flights from Moscow to Turkey, and also to various other beach destinations lately. If you look at Flight Radar 24, you see every day it's massive amounts of extra flights going. It just seems that Turkish Airlines are milking and because they are not in the same sanctions, but they can also fly over EU territory. What do you how do you feel about that?
Well, I just think Turkey is always playing both ends against the middle. I mean, you got Erdogan, who's a member of NATO, saying, "Well, I'm not sure we really want, Denmark and Finland coming into NATO," and grump. And, he's buying Russian military equipment, trying to buy American military fighter jets. Turkey's always trying to straddle between Russia and the United States and keep both happy, or take whatever they can get by leveraging one against the other. That's what I think of it they're doing. And so, okay, look, nobody else is flying out of Moscow anywhere. We'll take advantage. We'll take those Muscovites anywhere they want to go, or anywhere they're allowed. Yes.
Right. No, I completely agree. It's just really it's just I'm baffled by it. I think that somebody should call them out on it. And here we go. They are hereby called out. Stop flying to Russia right now. I think it's not a good idea to keep doing that just to make a few extra bucks on this stuff. I think that's you gotta be. Hey, look at the sun is out.
The sun. It's sunny in Norway suddenly. It'll go away in a minute. All right. Yeah. On a happier thing, on a happy note, besides the fact the sun's there's a big gray cloud right behind it. Mm-hmm. The World Happiness Report just came out today.
Right.
And the happiest nations in the world, number 1 is Finland. Number 2, I wrote it down so I won't get it wrong. Number 2 is Denmark, and number 3 is Iceland. Those are the happiest nations in the world. You want to know who the unhappiest are? And it makes sense because of political strife and worse. The losers are Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Venezuela. 3 countries where you maybe don't want to buy a second home right now.
Where are the U.S. Based? Or where are
U.S. is number 16, which isn't great, but at least it's number 16. And it's actually up 3 slots from last year's World Happiness Reports. I don't know how we got happier in the last year, but there you go.
That's interesting. Well, I think that political strife is probably the reason. Trying to find a new platform for everybody would be a good, beautiful thing. I think it would be a better way for us to coexist. We'll climb a little bit because the U.S. is not a bad place to live. I was just talking to Melinda about this morning. I was complaining of all of my my political views and she pointed out. I mean, we live an hour and a half from Tahoe and the best skiing in North America. We have 22 state or national parks surrounding us. We have Napa Valley. We have the coast, Bodega Bay, beautiful. We got the Mendocino coast, and we can go to San Francisco, and we can go to Monterey. We can go to Carmel, and it's a fantastic place to live. And it's just that we have some shortcomings that we should clean up in the rest of our country.
And I shall add, unlike say Hong Kong, for example, we
Mhm.
can say what we don't like about the damn
Exactly.
country. You know, so we got to remember that. But I agree with you that we certainly the news events of the last few weeks, in Buffalo and in Texas. Anyway, the point is we can express those political views. So for that, we should be grateful because in Hong Kong, that'll get you thrown in jail. And
Right,
so
no
it will
kidding.
in China and in Russia as well. Call
Yeah,
that
and
thing
it's
going
funny.
on.
So the areas where we are here, right, the Scandinavian countries right now, where we have our tour, which is one hell of a tour. It's a lot of cool impressions that we have here. We've been pretty lucky with the weather. I see that
Very
there's
lucky.
no cloud where you are. I can see down there, but up here it's a little bit more cloudy right now. So that's coming your way, by the way. The last thing I wanted to, so I'm not surprised that these countries are. The only thing I think that to be unhappy about is the prices of everything. But last thing I had on my list is American Airlines named the most faith-friendly Fortune 500 company.
What's that mean?
So, that's a lot of people that didn't want to click on the link and read the whole thing. What it actually means is that they are embracing people's and at the various offices that they have in Fort Worth, Texas, they are making efforts to make it a friendly environment for whatever faith that you have. So reading, people who didn't kind of read the article, but I think that it's called what they try to do is to have Muslims employees has an ablution station, and you have various prayer options. There are various groups that they do together. There's no pressure. It's just being it's if you're a person of faith, you are a first person of faith. That's the core of everything I bring to my workday. As a Christian, I'm going to do my very best for God every day, and people in a business want that. So that's kind of the thing. It's just making sure that there's a good environment for anybody. That if you have a soccer league, you have a football league, you have a dart thing. I think it's a great initiative by American, and you've been known to criticize American very many times in the past, but this is a cool thing, I think. So it's just making sure that the work environment is friendly for any faith denominations, or if you're not, some have other interests that they want to pursue. Somebody might not want to be in the American Airlines business baseball league or team, and somebody wants to do other things, and I think that's great.
I'll second that emotion. All right, I got to work on my tan. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're reporting from Oslo, Norway, and I'm surprised that there's so many that are awake at this hour. I also see that Sherry, I think Sherry is going, she just commented, I think Sherry is one of the guests that are going on our trip in here back into Scandinavia in September.
Do we have any room on that trip for anybody else?
We've got one couple available, so if somebody wants to go, we're having some specials now. So just comment in the descriptions below. It's actually that's one out of the two tours where we have availability this year. So we had a couple of couples that had to move to next year. We just got a booking, and now we're looking for another couple.
So we have room for one more couple in the next Scandinavian tour, which is when? Early September?
It leaves at September the 11th. It starts out of Stockholm. We have a few days there, and we head over if we fly over to Bergen, just like we did just now. Oh yeah, it is Sherry. So I guessed it. Yeah, it's we're just doing your tour right now. It's a really cool. It's just amazing. We've been so lucky with the weather. It's unbelievably that it was supposed to rain, and it was supposed to rain the whole time. And you're in Italy, so that's cool. Well,
Sherry gets around.
Yeah, she does.
So we have room for one more couple on the September 11th tour, Scandinavian tour. Our only other Scandinavian tour this year. You can find details, and you can get a day-to-day itinerary by going to.
Yeah, maxatours.com or either do that or comment. It's easy to get a hold of us. So we would love to see everybody, and that's it for us. We double time. We didn't do this yesterday because we were traveling on the train between Bergen and here, so that's why we did double time today. So Rudy, do you want to wrap it up or?
Yeah, nice having you with us. Treasure the fact that the sun is on my face because it won't be for very long. It'll certainly rain at some point, and then the sun will come back out, and I hope it's sunny where you are. And thank you, Tommy. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you down at the City Hall later.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.